Hey, everybody. Welcome. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that is very near and dear to Savannah and I for very different reasons. And if you don't know me, I am your host. My name is Catherine McCord. I am an international speaker and teacher. I also work professionally with operations and human resources, but I also just generally don't like misinformation and BS. So that's why I'm here leading this conversation today. We're going to be talking about the unhoused, homeless, however you want to refer to them, population today. We're going to talk about all of the things that are happening, why, what doesn't work, what does, from both a practical and a heartfelt perspective. And without further ado, I'd love to introduce one of my favorite human beings on the face of this planet, Savannah Fagan. And it's so hard for me to use your married name now. That's confusing me because I haven't known you since before you were married. But it's so very lovely to have you on. So introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Kat. And I love that we go way back too.
We were literally like back in school together. Like we first worked together when we were teenagers.
Yeah. So it's so good to see, it's always text.
Yeah.
So where I come into the conversation is I lived in my car on and off for 10 years and then became a hairdresser. And pretty much as soon as I was in a position to give back, my journey has just kind of started from there. And it started with just doing services in the salon for free, and then left the salon to setting up under a bridge. And then since then I've met other people, and so it's just kind of like a little network. I just kind of move where the universe flows. Where the universe takes me, I go. Um,
Yeah, and you're doing all this while being a mom to two super cute kids, right? And living your best life, like, which is so cool to me. Like
yes.
this is the and you've made this a family project.
It is everyone's involved. I mean, obviously I couldn't do any of it without my supportive husband, Simon. And but yeah, it's a whole it's an like it's so different, like, cuz like my son, like we live in Austin, like, so
Mhm.
everywhere you look there's someone on the corner,
Yeah,
there's no hiding it until they do
yeah.
the sweeps, but that's another that's another show.
We'll get there.
Yeah. And so, like, it's one thing for him to ask me questions, and even given with my personal experience, like, there's only so much you can explain, but like, just being active and showing him, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put our leftovers in some containers and go find someone that can use them instead of just sticking them in our fridge where I'm going to throw them away later anyways, right? and and so yeah, he's active. He's 7, but he gets it. And I don't think we give our children enough credit. Like, they're smart. you
Yeah,
know
they are.
they have real questions.
Yeah, they do. And kids, man, kids come up with some stuff that'll just blow your mind. They really, really do. And so my background working with unhoused folks came from, I've had several friends that have been unhoused, but also I used to volunteer with children that were homeless either individually or with their families. And I used to do volunteer work with them. And then I also came into several organizations to do work and to fix problems that were not paying their people appropriately. And these people who were working 40 hours a week then lost their homes because they were not getting their pay. And so I've seen it from that perspective as well. And that just made me insane. That's a whole other thing. But first, before we kind of dive into some of the solutions that both you and I have in mind, I want to talk about some of the myths
Yes.
because there are some serious myths
They're so
happening
silly.
here. And yeah, it drives me nuts. And you know me, I cannot stand fake information. Like, it makes me insane. So
Especially when it's so
one of
silly.
yeah, it does. It just makes me nuts. I can't deal with it. Like, these people just saying things that are just not true. So let's start with this. The fact that the unhoused homeless population is a public health risk. All right, let's understand what that means. So when that terminology is used by our government, news outlets, etc., understand that that is a very broad term, and almost any condition can roll into that. So basic illnesses like flus, colds, that type of thing. Chronic conditions like my COPD, which I got from COVID. Thank you so much, COVID. Um, that that can fit into that. STDs can fit into that. Like anything. Like if you have HPV, you're technically a public health concern. Like it's such a broad, which most people do. It's such a broad term. So understanding that first. So then let's understand, are homeless people actually a danger to our health? The answer per the CDC, National Institute of Health, National Library of Medicine. I came up with several other American Public Health Association. I wrote that down, and a few others. When you actually dive into the data, no, the unhoused slash homeless population is not a danger to our health. In fact, the last time that they participated or had anything to do with the spreading of a disease in any serious way was COVID, when everybody was spreading cooties, literally everybody. The main things that the unhoused have would be like addiction, STDs. There are some other random things that they can be more prone to have associated with living outside. And these are things that you will not get unless you are in very intimate situations, like having sex, sharing needles, licking eyeballs, like that, which you shouldn't do anyway. That so if you're not doing those things, these people do not present a health risk to you. So number one, debunk. Thoughts, Savannah, on this topic?
Look, I'm gonna say I'm more scared of my kids going to daycare and bringing something home than I am work whenever I go outside to serve the community. I mean,
As
you've
you
seen me
should
go to the
be.
grocery store with people like sniffing while they're touching every single apple. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because that's just what kids do. They're just natural, like, oh, this looks like fun. I'm going to do it. They just don't think about that kind of thing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
so
and I
funny.
would and I would even argue that they're more healthy because like they're out in the sun, they don't
Yeah.
they're not in a cubicle with other people who are also sick.
There are those things too. There are aspects that I think do bring health, right? There are things that are concerns,
Yeah,
but then there are aspects to your point that bring health as well. So
yeah.
another myth that makes me insane is that these folks are dangerous, that the unhoused population is dangerous. So I looked on multiple states' criminal websites, including Texas and Florida and Washington State. I looked, and a few others as well. I looked at the Department of Justice site, and it turns out that the unhoused population is not dangerous,
They're
like
not
at all.
dangerous. No.
um,
And
they are actually more likely to be victims than they are to perpetrate a crime. Now, the one exception to that is that there is a lot of assaults amongst each other, typically over different disputes. But in terms of to the rest of the population, no, the facts are that there is zero data, zero, to show that the unhoused population is in any way, shape, or form a danger to society.
I
Thoughts,
know.
Savannah?
And I mean, seriously, Kat, and like that's why it really just like, it just like really like makes my blood boil whenever like people's solution is calling the cops because it's like first of all you're just what you're wasting resources, like cops can't do anything, and
Yeah.
like second, like imagine someone calling the cops on you for existing, like where are they supposed to go?
Thank you. And let's talk about like so being homeless is not technically a crime, but they've criminalized everything that homeless people have to do to
Yes,
live. Like
yes. Where are they supposed to go? Like they are existing.
yeah. What do
But
you
no,
and
they're
I love
not.
when people go to a homeless shelter. Dude, they're full. And we're gonna get to that in a minute. But like that's just not it's just not a thing.
It's not a
It's
thing. And like I've never felt in danger. I mean, there's definitely been like, sketchy situations, but like that's life. Like that's going downtown.
yeah, but you literally, I mean, and I want people to understand like the level of involvement you have. You are out there multiple days a week working with these folks. It's not like once a month when you
I
just
look
get in
for
a
them.
good mood. Yeah, like she
I seek
actually
them.
drives around looking for people. She goes and says she's always posting these great videos of all these things that she's setting up and all. This woman eats, lives, and breathes this stuff. So there was going to be danger. She would know.
I also feel that way. Yeah. Like
Yeah. Like you would know.
Like
And it's just not, and you even take your kids and it's fine.
yeah.
And it's fine. Yeah. Okay. So myth number two debunked. They're not dangerous. It's not. So
I don't
not a
feel
public
in
health risk.
I
Not.
personally don't feel in danger,
No.
no.
And the data is not there. And the data is not there. Right. And even the volunteer work I've done, I've never felt endangered by
Yeah.
these folks. Like it's just not a thing. Um, so then let's talk about the myth that most homeless people are addicts. So I did some research and I found from the American Public Health Association that they found that 17% of homeless people have an addiction. And there was another study from a group called Health Affairs that said that the unsheltered had up to 25 to 30% addiction. And so, and of course, there's always going to be varied data on studies and what groups you're in and what cities you're in and all that. So let's say it's up to 30%. That's not most. Like that's not most. And to my understanding, and Savannah, I would love your input on this. And from the reading I did, it looks like a good bit of them become addicted post being unhoused. It was not a pre-existing condition. What do you what are your experiences with that or insights?
To me, it just doesn't matter. Like, housing is a human right. I don't care if 100% of people are on. And also, too, like, it really irritates me that that's even a factor when, I mean, how many people do you know with a roof over their head who are addicts?
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
why does that matter?
alcohol,
Right?
like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Well,
alcohol
and even with
abuse,
drugs,
like
there's so many people that still have a home. Yeah.
pills, prescriptions. I mean, so
Mhm.
to say that, like, that's, just because some people are able to, I guess, be functioning addicts.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
congratulations, I
That's
guess.
yeah, exactly. And from my reading, a good bit of them it becomes self-medication. They don't have the insurance, they don't have the money for their actual medication, so it becomes self-medication.
Have never been
Um,
diagnosed. Can you imagine? I mean, you've dealt with it. People who are in the system who have never or even gotten overlooked as children, just
yeah.
being brushed off as being the child who had, ADD or whatever they
Mhm.
diagnosed it with. Meanwhile, they've got some personality disorder that then they are trying to, use heroin so that they feel normal or, whatever
Yes.
substance it is. I mean, there's
Right.
a lot of self-medicating going
Oh
on.
yeah,
So,
and even with medical conditions, like chronic health conditions, it's like I'm in so much pain and I can't afford my meds for my MS or my arthritis or whatever, and so then it's self medication. Veterans with PTSD,
yep.
you know, and if you want to talk trash about them, we're gonna have a whole other fight. Like, like if somebody out
Can't
there is
say
trying to start to trash talk that, we're gonna have a whole other conversation.
no, you can't say
So
anything.
same thing with child victims, and that's a very real thing. Child victims of all different types of horrific situations become addicts to self-medicate and to cope with their PTSD and their trauma, and then this can perpetuate into other situations as well. And there's not good resources for that. And it's heartbreaking. And so I want to talk about
Yeah.
that too. So then there's this whole like, well, we'll just put them into these institutions, or why aren't they just getting help? Like, what's wrong with them? Why don't they just go get help? Well, number one, shelters are full. Homeless shelters are full, period. Like, they're at 144% capacity. And I got that number from a couple of different sources. In fact, I'll bust out with them real quick. So the National Income Housing Coalition and CBS, so they are well over 100% capacity. So they are full.
Well, how is that even
Also,
possible? Where are they sleeping? How are you
yeah, I
past?
know. Like they're like literally like sharing beds and like laying on the floor on blankets. Like it's so sad. And these places want to help, so they're helping out, but like they're full. There's nowhere else for them to go. Then psychiatry.com and NPR, and then again the National Institute of Health. Gosh, I use them a lot. Um, also talk about how there are not beds available for mental health facilities because again they're over 100% capacity, and so it does not exist. There is, and these are for people with money, with resources, who are trying to get help. There are lines that are 3 to 6 months long for people with money. So for people without, you're SOL, right? And so the truth is that we do not have these systems in place, and that applies for addiction as well. They kind of lump those. It's usually the same facilities. That goes for both. Um, so there's not help. There's not. Our system does not have enough options to help people. and that's just fact. So
Yeah.
where do they go?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, like what do you do? You know,
I know. Well, especially, if you don't have any family, or even if you do have family, I mean, I think that's, kind of a misconception too. Like in my case, when people say, well, don't you have any family? It's like, well, what's my family supposed to do? Protest to make minimum wage higher?
yeah, right. Well, and not
Like,
everybody has a stable family. Not everybody does. Like
I
that's
mean,
just true.
I had a stable family, but like I wasn't like I would rather live in my car than go live with my mom. Like, no offense to my mom.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but it's just like, no, I'm an adult. No thanks.
And
And that's
but also,
true. Like,
just like living my life, and like, like I'd waitress, and like, sorry to kind of like get off on my
no,
own
go.
personal experience, but like it's like I think people have a big misconception of kind of like I guess they think, well, oh well, if you're not paying rent, then you must have these thousands of dollars.
So
you
let's talk
know?
about that. Yeah. So where does your
Yeah.
money go when you're working, even if it's odd jobs? Because I know some people that are on house, it's like random odd jobs. So where does the
Yeah.
money go?
So it's right. So it's like it's a very in present lifestyle. Like you are literally only worried about making it through the day. So okay, so like just to give you an example. Okay, so say I waitress, I make $100. Cool. Okay, so I'm gonna get something to eat. That's $20.
Mhm.
Because I don't have a stove or anything, so I have to
Yeah.
just
So you just have to buy food. Yeah.
Mhm. So that's $20. And then I finally get to change this donut that I've been driving on for like 2 months, right? Finally get to get a new tire. So what's that? Maybe 40 for a used one.
Uh-huh.
So where am I at now? $40?
Mhm. Yeah.
And then that's gas, gas. And then, so it's like
Whatever
when,
else you need, toothbrush, toothpaste, like there's still water to drink. Like there's still, you got to
you
find somewhere
know,
to shower. Like, what does that look like? You know?
right. Right. So it's not, and then so it's like, it's a very, like I said, it's a very present lifestyle. You're just making it through the day. If you have a good night waitressing to make $200, cool. Maybe I'll get a hotel
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
And even that one time, so I had exactly $200, and so I knew the room was 150, and so I was like, cool. Well, because I was paying cash, they made me put down a $50 deposit. So immediately there goes my money, and then they didn't want to give it back to me the next day too, because they had a whole story or whatever. But it's like it's always like something, that's what
Yeah.
it always
Oh,
feels
yeah.
like
There's
like
always
like
something.
like
Yeah.
you're so, and I mean, and even like whenever I had an apartment, like it's again it's very like I usually waitress, or like you said, take odd jobs
Yeah.
and stuff like that, so I never had steady income.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's like,
It's hard. It's crazy. And I want
yeah,
to ask you too. So I see a lot of like, there's people with kids, there's people with animals, there's people
I don't know
with,
how they do it.
like
I don't.
elderly that are with them, like, and they're sitting there trying to take care of this elderly person too, or they have a severe disability and they're limited with what they can do for work.
I have no idea how they do it. Look, like I was an able body that was struggling. I do not know, like bring kids and animal into the situation. I mean, anything like that. I do not know. I mean, I love those seeing like, the companionship, and because,
Yeah.
and I think, a lot of people judge people that have like a dog and stuff. And to me, I'm like, they're both living their best life. Like
Yeah.
they have each other. Like my dogs would love to just hang out with me all day.
Well, this is always my thing, and this is my thing for any pet owner. As long as the animal is fed and in
Yes.
relatively good health, you're fine. Like I'm not,
Yes.
and let me tell you, the people, at least in my experience, Savannah, please tell me if you've had different. The people that have the dogs make sure that they get fed, and those dogs get fed before they do. And plus, more people will give scraps to dogs where they're just walking like, "Oh, puppy, puppy," and they just give little scraps. Yeah,
Those dogs eat before they do.
yeah, yeah. In
They
my
they
experience, that's
I've
that's the
seen
case.
it. They've told me, and it's so funny. One time, because sometimes I keep like Ziploc bags of food, and I
Mhm.
I tried to give one, and he was like, "Oh, she won't eat dog food. She's so used to eating what I eat."
Spoiled ass dog.
So her dog food's just burnt, a little burnt cream. Like, what's that?
She's like, what am I supposed to do with this? This is not
Yes,
bougie. I'm a bougie girl. Yeah.
exactly.
And
I
that's
said,
the
"Oh, she
thing.
fancy."
That's the thing. Like they do. And people go, well, what about vaccines and medical care? I'm like, dude, there are clinics that will do that stuff so cheap. So they'll save up for a couple of days and take them. There are people places that do it for free. So just because the animal is with a person who is unhoused does not mean that they're in an abusive situation or even neglectful. It's not the best situation, but it's not the worst either. Trust me, I've worked in animal rescue for many years.
Yeah,
I would rather see an animal with a homeless person than a lot of people that have houses and that just suck
same,
as humans. Um,
same. Or locked
yeah,
in the kennel at the shelter, you know?
yeah, exactly. Oh God, yeah. Don't even get me started on the hell that
I
that is
know.
on animals. But
I know.
it's so then okay. So then there's people are like, okay, well, if we don't have shelter for them and we don't have room in the mental health system, then we'll just put them in jail. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, being homeless again is not a crime. And the things that they do, so this is what gets on my nerves. And tell me what you think. Like, I've never been walking anywhere and not been able to get where I was going because of a homeless person. So I don't care, like, if they're on the sidewalk or whatever, they're always like off to the side. They're not like blocking the entire sidewalk where you can't get anywhere. And even when you see these videos of like in DC, Baltimore, stuff like that, where they've been doing these sweeps, which we're going to get to that in a moment. Um, they're like on this huge parkway or this huge park or this huge like 30-foot sidewalk and they're way over here. And they're like, dude, there's no way that they're causing a problem. Like they're just sitting over there in their tent. Like there's literally no way. I have not had anything I was trying to do obstructed by homeless people. Have you ever had a different experience?
No, I mean, to me, it's so disgusting that someone would even be like, "Oh, well, I don't like looking at people who are having to sleep outside." Like, please get therapy.
Yeah.
You know, if someone's struggle like irritates you, like there's something wrong.
Something wrong. Yeah, I would agree with you. I would very much agree. And actually, I was speaking to my
You
sister who is a
know?
mental healthcare professional about this, and she was saying that she's like, "Oh no, that's a sign that something's wrong with you. That you
Yeah.
need to go get help, like
Yeah.
legitimately."
Like that is
Um,
deep rooted anger that
yeah, yeah,
that someone that doesn't have a roof over their head pisses you off.
right. Yeah, it is like why? Like, I just don't understand the logic behind that. I've never had an angry response, and I'm not the like I'm pretty grumpy in general, and a lot of things irritate me, and that's just like I always joke like I'm the human equivalent of grumpy cat. I'm always just like, and humans in general can just their existence can get on my nerves because a lot of people suck, but never once have I looked at a homeless person and thought, oh, I just can't with you. Like, like you just shouldn't even be there. I don't know what to do with you.
Same.
I just don't care. Like it just in terms of like if that's where they choose to live, great. Now, if there's something I can do to help them, if they're not choosing that and it's something sucky, I would like to help. But if they choose that, fine. Like, what do I care? What? Why does that bother me?
I love that you say well, first of all, I wanted to tell like I also like I'm because I think because you were saying like how you're like kind of cynical and stuff.
Yeah,
And so same and I think like so like all my kindness is like from pure anger. Like being fed up with everything, you know what I mean? Like this
yeah,
is not like a
same,
kumbaya
same.
moment to me.
Yeah, yeah. Like, no,
I'm
no, I'm
almost
not like
like
just super sweet. I'm not like a marshmallow. Like, I just like this is just. I'm just tired of the BS. Yeah.
yeah. Um, and then, sorry, and then what was the last thing you said? Do you remember? Darn.
I was talking about. I don't know. I was talking about. Just like I don't understand. Oh, the choosing. Like there are
Oh,
people
the
that choose.
choosing.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said choose because so one time I asked someone this guy who like after I had seen him for like several times because I was sitting up
Yeah.
under the same bridge and I was like I gotta ask you because I mean he was just like happy like it's like
Yeah.
partying like I'm sure if you want to talk about substance I'm sure but whatever.
Yeah.
and I asked him once, and I was like, like I gotta ask you if you could do anything. Say like money doesn't exist anymore, and you just
Yeah.
get to do whatever you want to do with your life. Like, what would you do? And he was like, I'm living it.
Like this is my dream. This is it.
It's like he was like, get with the program, girl. Like, can't you see? Like, we are
I.
living.
You know what though? No, I do kind of like I not my choice, but I can actually see it. I can. Like I can wrap my brain around it and be like, no, I can see where this would be appealing and not having that 9 to 5 and that grind and that you just living to work and all that. No, I get bills. The bills
Yeah, that was
suck.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was me. I would
Yeah.
try to do it, I'd save up, get an apartment, and then it just, I mean, I did it several times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
crazy.
it's exhausting, it's
Yeah.
the whole system is exhausting.
It is. It is. And so okay, so jail's not a thing. The shelters are not a thing because they're full. Mental health and abuse clinic and substance abuse clinics are full. So we need more of that. Let's just say that like flat out. Like we need more options for people. And what's really interesting to me um is that we've just kind of skipped over the idea of just building permanent solutions. Like, oh, we'll just create these temporary fixes. The problems will perpetuate. So we're not going to fix the fact that wages have factually not kept up with inflation. And let me explain. So this is my area of expertise, right? Yeah, this is
Yes.
where I can speak.
And this is the
So
real problem,
yeah, and this is a huge piece. So number one is our healthcare system is not set up to help people succeed, whether it's mental health, physical health, any of that. There are people that become homeless because of medical debt and because of medical needs and care, which is insane. And and not all homeless people are unhoused. So some homeless people have family, have things like that, but they do not have a home and cannot afford one, and that needs
right.
to be addressed. And so medical issues, mental health concerns, that type of thing. So we abuse, substance abuse. So we need more resources. Factually, also wages are not keeping up. So housing has climbed astronomically at like 300, it's almost 300 times in just a couple of decades in terms of cost. It is clinically insane. Wages, on the other hand, have only gone up,
Zero.
depending on your industry, about 30 to 50% over decades, right? Like over decades. And so when housing, your most expensive aspect, has tripled, and your wages haven't even come close to doubling, there's an obvious problem right there. And so we need to be making sure that wages are keeping up with housing. Sometimes housing costs need to be capped. Nobody likes hearing that. Oh, capitalism, capitalism. Well, sometimes you've got to cap capitalism and keep it reasonable. Um,
We cap
but that
everything
type of
except
thing.
capitalism.
Yeah. Capitalism has its perks, but I'm like, it needs to be reined in. I like reined in capitalism. Like, like humans first and being reasonable and then capitalism.
Yeah. Like, I'm all about millionaires. I just don't think anyone should be a billionaire. Like, that's an insane amount of money. That's a
Nobody
stupid
needs
amount of
that.
money. Nobody needs that.
No, and I'm sorry, and you didn't earn that. You did not earn
No,
that. There's no way, and I have known all kinds of entrepreneurs. I've been an entrepreneur for 10 plus years. You cannot possibly earn that amount of money. Now,
no,
and mostly because that also means you are underpaying the people below you. Because if your company is earning that much and you have all this, why are you not paying the people helping you get there better? So I'm with you. Like
no. It
that
means
should not be a thing.
it means your security guard is riding the bus to his bench. I know one. He's a security guard. He doesn't have a house.
Yeah. Oh, I've known
He
multiple
sleeps on a
security guards.
bench,
Yep. Yep.
Like,
Security
that's crazy.
guards.
They're protecting your entire building and you can't even pay them enough to have a roof over their
I
head.
know. It's insane. Like not even a one bedroom apartment. Like you can't even get a studio apartment. That's insane. That is insane. And let me tell you, folks, security guards, there are plenty of security guards out there still making less than $10 an hour, and you cannot live on that. Not a thing in the United States anymore. I mean, even if you have multiple roommates, that it's still going to be a struggle. And by the way, a lot of people don't know this. They're like, well, why don't they just have multiple roommates? Well, there's also limits in a lot of housing places about how many people can be in certain size apartments. So like, just kind of figuring that kind of stuff out. It's really nuts.
Yeah,
So
and how uncomfortable. Like, who wants to live like
yeah,
that?
who wants to do that? Like, good
That's not a
God.
that's not
But
a way of life. Bunk have bunk beds at age 30,
I
like
know.
pay
Like
people for their time.
exactly. And I'm sorry, if a job is worth having somebody do full time, then it is worth a full time level wage. And
Yes.
I firmly believe that years of business, years of entrepreneurship, years of HR and all that, I firmly believe that. And it's not, and people are like, oh, that'll just of course, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not how it works. So, and actually In-N-Out Burger was one of the first businesses that objectively proved that. So they paid, this is years ago. So back in about 2010, they were paying $15 an hour, which was a
Wow.
semi-livable wage at the time in the
Yeah.
Dallas area. They were paying $15 an hour to their burger flippers and all that kind of stuff, right?
Wow.
And that was their base wage. And their burgers were no more expensive than anyone else's. They just had a better business model and they saved in some areas and that, that type of thing. They just had a better business model. So if you cannot afford to pay your people properly, you have a bad business model.
I know.
That is the fact.
What about Dan Price? I feel like he proved to everyone.
So I did a lot of work in merchant services over the years. And so I'm very familiar with he and his brand. And there were some other problems with him and his company, but that he nailed. That he nailed. The 70K base thing and all that. Again and again, a lot of it was the business model and how he framed his business and a lot of remote work and a lot of using the proper tools and not spending on things he didn't actually need and that type of thing. He was very smart with his budgeting and I think had a very brilliant CFO as well, in my opinion. But again, to your point, yes, proved it. So those are two businesses and two completely different industries that proved the point. Wages are not the problem. That's a myth perpetuated by rich people to keep you poor and to let them keep pulling their BS.
Costco. Costco's another good paying, or I
Oh
say
yeah.
good, decent,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's out there. These companies are out there.
Yeah.
It can be done. So wages need to come up. Healthcare system sucks, and we've got to have more resources available. Period. And also the cost of healthcare has got to come down and come down. And first of all, folks, it is not that hard. I have been to multiple other countries. I know people all over the world. It's not that hard. We are the, we're the only first world country struggling with this issue. The only one. We've got to cut it out. We've got to start learning from other people. This is nuts.
Yeah. I feel
It's
like in other
crazy.
countries, I feel like in other countries, they're like, they just have so much of this mentality of just like taking care of one another, like it's just the
It
States,
is. It is.
we have just gone mad.
When I yeah, when I
They
went to
have us
Costa
so
Rica,
divided.
when I went to Costa Rica, when I went to Europe, various countries in Europe, the first thing was the we mentality versus the me mentality. And it
Yes.
felt different in those
Yeah.
other places. It felt different. And and the way that people interacted with each other was different. And the way that people thought about things was different. And it was very interesting. And it was and to see people helping each other thrive. And in some countries with way less than what we've got going on here, like
I know.
way less.
I know. I
Yeah.
know. We're
Yeah.
just
Greed.
consumed by material, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, and look, and there are some great things that have come out of this nation because of how we think. There are great things that have come out. But now I think it's time to say, okay, so what do we keep and what do we let go so that we can bring back the humanity
Yes.
into
Yes.
this, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah, like we don't need to not be awesome with making great things. I'm all for that. That's super cool. But let's also not suck as people.
Like,
Like,
not
just the
be okay
thought.
with people dying in the street.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah, and not treat them like they're subhuman because that can literally happen to anybody. It can happen to
none of us are
anybody.
safe.
Yeah. Mhm.
None
Yeah,
of us are
and
safe until we're all safe.
yeah, so we don't that. None of us are safe until we're all safe. And it's, and we need better veteran programs, better healthcare system, solving the actual problems, right? Solving the
Yeah.
actual problems. Homelessness is a symptom. It's not the problem. It's a symptom of the problem.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And so treating the actual wage increases, housing cost caps, fixing the healthcare system, better resources for addiction, better resources for mental health care, better resources, period. And then better systems to help people get back on track. And other countries, they have, so like when industries get wiped out because of technology, they have reskilling programs to help you get into new jobs. If there are mass layoffs, there again reskilling, there's there are better resources to help you keep going. And so learning from those other countries and bringing some of that to our nation, I think would be the real solution. And then just being
Absolutely.
humans.
Oh my gosh, having more access to education would be huge, if you didn't
Yes.
have to go into debt just to, anyways.
Yeah, that's a whole other. Oh my gosh, a friend of mine told me this whole. The very very short version is that she had a neighbor in Finland who chose to have her children and get her doctorate at the same time because the country will support you while you get your doctorate. And so yeah, so she was a stay-at-home mom getting her doctorate, taking care of her kids, and then she went into the workforce and she gives back to this same program. So now she's this productive,
Oh,
super cool member of society. And it's this cyclical thing. And it just makes sense. It was like, okay, we do need more. I think it was psychiatry is what she was going into. We need more psychiatrists. So we're willing to support you while you go through this, and
wow.
so that now we have you, and it was really cool. It was a really really cool program. So I think, like you said, more access to education,
Yeah.
um and helping people thrive, and remembering that people are not yucky
Yes.
just because they live outside, and that
I
people are
know.
still humans, and that if
Yeah.
you look at them and you feel anything other than kindness and compassion, the problem is you.
Big time.
These are people. Be nice.
I know.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today,
Oh,
Savannah. Is there
thank you
anything
for
else you
having
want to
me.
say to people about maybe how they can help, things that, just any wisdom that you have to impart to us, anything?
Yeah, so just keeping water in your car is huge. If you don't live in a heavy populated area, where you kind of see people that you can have hand water out to, there's some great organizations that I promote on a regular basis.
So, how can they follow you to learn about this, especially if they're in the
Yes.
Austin area?
Okay, so on TikTok, I'm Savannah Heart and Soul Salon, and then on YouTube, I am Savannah Fagan, the number one, and then Love,
Yeah.
and Savannah Fagan everywhere else.
Yeah, just Savannah thing. Yeah, uh, but I do recommend following Savannah. She gives some wonderful tips. She really brings humanity to this cause, and she's just pleasant. She just brings good energy to you. So just follow Savannah. Trust me, it'll be good for your health. Any other recommendations? Anything else that we can do to help?
um, the water's huge. Yeah, just be nice to each other. I mean,
Be kind. No,
be
honestly, like when
kind.
you
They don't
see
even have
somebody,
to
be
be at
kind.
house. Just be, I reposted this thing the other day. This chick was talking about just making eye contact with someone,
Yeah.
like releases like all the same good feelings as like drugs do or something like that. I think
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just connecting. I don't know. I think community gardens could really save us,
Oh, yes. Oh, for
reminding
so
us
many reasons,
for
yes to
so many
that.
reasons, feeding us,
Yes.
reminding us we're neighbors.
Mhm.
Just really kind of back to being human.
Yeah,
We've
absolutely.
we've really all gotten lost in the
Yeah,
chaos of
exactly.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, my advice is number one, folks, fact check. Stop just listening to what random who the heck ever says, right? And what's sad is that even if in the moment you know that that's not the only truth, your brain, that's the only information that it has. So factually, it will just latch onto that as truth. So get information, research. It's so easy to Google things these days. Get on there and learn, and don't just chat GPT. That stuff's not always right. Actually, like read the articles, dive deeper, and don't just use the first Google response that pops up. Dive into the articles and understand what things mean. It matters. And be a good human. Apparently, only feed stray dogs good bougie stuff like steak and lobster. I don't know. Apparently, we learned that today. But then the other thing is like, if you're so concerned about what's going on, start helping fix the real problems. Stop whining and griping and trying to make somebody else fix it, and saying how people and coming up with solutions that don't make any goddamn sense, like what our government was currently trying to do, which is steal people's things and shove them into some institution that's already overstuffed that makes no sense. Let's actually start solving the problems and being practical. So with that, thank you so very much for joining me today, Savannah. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
You can connect with me on LinkedIn or on TikTok. I'm Kathy HR Titan. And then Savannah told you how to follow her. Definitely do that. And be great, everybody.
Bye. Have a beautiful day.